Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of Addairs Farmhouse. Now, this is going to be a little bit different than what we've been doing, but this episode is vital for the success of the rest of the series. So I hope that you stick around and you enjoy it. But before we do that, can anyone guess what this week's episode is about? I'm going to give you 3 guesses. Okay, go. No, not that one. Not that one either. So sorry, struck out. No, not those. It is about gardening. Gardening is today's episode. So enjoy. Get you a pen and some paper because you're going to want to take notes. It's going to be a good one. We'll see you inside.
Hey y'all, we're Josh and Rebecca Addair, and we are so proud to share our story with you. From being raised in a small coal mining town of Matewan, West Virginia, to moving to our dream home in East Tennessee.
When we first laid eyes on our 110-year-old farmhouse, our hearts were filled with nothing but pure joy. We knew right then that this place was going to be our sanctuary and a place for others to gather and experience true mountain hospitality.
We're true Appalachian folk who show our love with a good meal, laughter, a helping hand, and a prayer when needed. Our goal is to give you an authentic look into the Addair family and the wonderful craziness that is our blessed life.
So y'all come on in and make yourselves comfortable. We're glad to have you here, and we can't wait to share a little slice of mountain life with each of you. Welcome home, friends.
Welcome back. Happy Monday. We are so excited to see y'all on this beautiful, beautiful Monday morning.
What are we?
Anyway, so this episode I'm super excited about. It's so funny because as of right now, we have about, 4 inches of snow on the ground, and we're going to talk about gardening. Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
I do love planning and preparation.
Yes, you do.
I do, so this is good.
Right down your alley.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Right down my alley.
Yeah, so if you're a gardener, you know that prep begins in January. It's time to start thinking about what we're going to plant, even though it's kind of hard to envision anything right now in 18-degree weather. It's going to happen. Just like every other season, this too will come to an end, and warmer weather is on the way, and then before too long, we're going to be complaining about how hot it is.
Always complain.
Yeah, it's always how it goes. But let's talk about your garden, and let's talk about what it looks like to plan your garden for the upcoming year. Now, I encourage you, if you are a note taker, to take some information, especially if this is your first time. A lot of this you may know already, and that's cool. Just hang out with us, and we're going to talk about our failures and our successes with our garden. The first thing that we need to talk about for your garden is your growing zone. Our country is kind of broke up into different zones. You can literally Google growing zone for, you can type in your city or you can type in your zip code and it will give you your growing zone. Now ours is 7A. This gives you an idea of when to start your seeds, when to plant your stuff, all that stuff, okay? So then the very next thing you're going to want to know is the last frost date for your growing zone. So for us in 7A, our last frost date is April 21st. And what that means is we are in the clear. After April 21st, there'll be no more frosts for us here in 7A. Now, I'm gonna push that because that's who I am. And I'll probably have stuff in the ground by the end of March. If I have a frost day, I will watch the calendar and I will cover it with some cloth and make sure that night we don't get anything that ruined. Like for instance, broccoli, I have no luck with. I have tried it every year and never get anything. And here's why. Broccoli is more of a cool weather crop. It doesn't like the heat a whole lot. But here,
Me too, broccoli. Me too.
But here, it goes from really, really cold to really, really hot really quick. So there's no chance for it to really get that time of year that it likes to thrive. Like broccoli likes 60, lower 70s. And that might be a week here in East Tennessee. And we're going to go from 30 to 80. And what happens is it gets too hot and it just bolts. And there's no fruit. There's nothing that we can harvest off of that. So I'm hoping next year we're going to have a greenhouse. I'm hoping I can get those started earlier, maybe in
fall.
January. Yeah.
I think maybe try fall.
Maybe in the fall.
Maybe.
But we can get those started earlier inside in a more protected weather climate, and hopefully we can have some luck. I'm not even going to grow broccoli this year because I'm never had any luck with it. So next year we're going to try it again with the greenhouse and see how that goes. Now, the next thing I'm going to tell you is a piece of advice I was given last year, and it makes so much sense, but we don't think about this. Make a list of the things that your family is going to eat and grow that. A lot of times we will want to grow a garden and we'll grow a bunch of stuff that our family don't even like. We just wanted to grow a garden. Well, the whole point in having a garden is the ability to be able to feed your family. And if you're growing a bunch of radishes, and I say radishes just because it's not something that I grow, and nobody in your house eats radishes, and you don't typically cook with radishes, that was kind of a wasted crop. You could give it away, but you know, the rewarding part of it is being able to harvest and use it, and it be beneficial to your life, to your family, to your friends, etc. So the first thing is make a list of the stuff that you would eat, you and your family would eat and would find beneficial. Now, I have a list of that here, and I want to talk a little bit about what I have. First of all, when it comes to the greens, this year I'm going to grow lettuce, mustard greens, kale, and cabbage. Tomatoes, I'm going to grow 3 varieties of tomatoes. One is a beefsteak because they are the best for a good old tomato sandwich. 2 is a Cherokee purple. If you've never ate a Cherokee purple tomato, it will change your life. They're real dark, and people are kind of turned off from them until they put them in their mouth, and it has the strongest tomato flavor. They're delicious. And the last one is some Romas. Now, I typically grow cherry tomatoes, but I'm going to switch those out for Romas this year, and here's why. I want to do some canning and make some homemade salsa, and Romas are the best for that. So this will be the first year that I've ever grew Roma tomatoes, so we'll figure that out together.
So, it's like, for instance, you say that the Romas are for salsa. What if we want to do like spaghetti sauce? Or
Romas are still, Romas are considered like a canning tomato.
The canning tomato?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal.
Next thing is cucumbers. So I do 2 varieties. I always do a normal variety, which I'm going to exchange for an English cucumber this year. Never done those before, so that'll be a new one for me. And then, of course, our Bostons, which are our pickling cucumbers. They're the shorter ones, the smaller ones, because pickles are my absolute favorite, and it seems to be a favorite of everybody around us who loves them. So I always try to give out an abundance of pickles throughout the year. I'm also going to try this year to change that up and do some more. I always do dill, but I also want to do some bread and butter and maybe some spicy and sweet. So we'll see how that all plays out this year.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We need to get some people in here to taste test pickles.
Pickles. That could be a cool episode.
That could be. Not me.
Next on the list are onions, but the first ones are called candy onions. I found these for the first time this past year, and they were delicious. We were actually at a greenhouse, and I was standing at all of the vegetables looking at everything, and this old man was standing beside me, and he said, "Hey, have you ever tried those onions?" And I said, no sir, I'm not. And he said, "Well, they got them in here a couple years ago for the first time," he said, "and the guy that owns the greenhouse talked me into trying them out in my garden. He said, well, I'll tell you, since then, I won't grow any other kind of onion but the candy onions. They are delicious. And he was like, just buy some and try it and see what you think. So this past year, I got some starts from the greenhouse and I threw them in the ground, and we had them for the first time this year, and they're delicious. They're not real potent as some like purple onions are. They're a white onion, a yellow onion, but they're super good. I mean, literally, I would just put salt on them and eat just the onion. It's delicious. And then also, I'll do some purple onions for salads and things like that. Yeah. All right. Next thing, root vegetables. So we have a lot of luck with carrots. I don't know why, but we do. So
if you've seen our intro video,
yeah, there's a lot of carrots. It's true. We like carrots.
So many carrots.
Because we grow an abundance of them, and I don't know why. It's so funny because I had a friend to me say, who does gardening, she says, I have no luck with carrots. And I'm like, I don't know what I do, but it works.
I think they're the funnest thing to like harvest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a little treasure hunt.
The kids like it. Maybe that's why we grow it so well. Maybe the Lord's like, here's something for your kids to do.
Yeah.
Dig carrots.
Now, carrots go in the ground very early, and they're one of the first things that you get to kind of harvest too. Mm-hmm. So it's a spring crop. Also potatoes. Now potatoes, we changed those up. So the first part of the year, I'll grow like Yukon Golds or some sort of regular yellow potato. Honest to goodness, the last 2 years, the way I've started my potatoes is I have taken 3 or 4 potatoes from what we've bought from the grocery store, let them get their eyes on them, cut them off, let them harden off, throw them in the ground, and that's what I do every year. Nothing fancy. Go to the grocery store, pick out your favorite potato, come home, and grow it. If you would like to advertise your business during an episode of Addairs Farmhouse, feel free to email addairsfarmhouse@gmail.com. We harvest our yellow ones about midsummer, and then what we'll do is we'll dig those up, and then I will plant sweet potatoes in their place for the fall season, and then we'll harvest those usually around Thanksgiving. So yeah,
perfect time for sweet potatoes.
Yeah. And then next, peppers. So I'm going to do a bell pepper, a banana pepper, and a jalapeno pepper this year. Typically, I've never grew jalapeno peppers either, but for salsa, figure it's pretty important.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder there.
No, you're good.
I'm sorry.
You're good.
We've not went over this, so this is new information to me too.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we've talked about it, but not.
A little bit.
Yeah, Josh is the garden planner.
Yeah,
so.
I get excited when it comes to the garden.
Yeah. And I'm glad. I'm grateful.
I'm hopeful that this year we can get her bit by the bug. So, not a real bug.
It's so hot here in the summer that it's criminal, and that's what the problem is. I'm like a wilting flower. I'm an inside cat.
Okay, so the last thing that we're going to grow are beans. Love to grow a good old green bean. We're going to do 2 different varieties. You've got pole beans and you've got bush beans, and basically what that means is one grows on a bush and one would typically grow up a pole or some sort of trellis. So that's kind of where we are. And then of course we got to plant some strawberries.
Yeah.
I've been given instructions by the head producer.
Yeah. When Josh was reading the list, she was on her scooter driving by and said, "What about strawberries?" And then
yeah.
We gotta go strawberries. Like just peeking through talking about strawberries. And they always get ate before we harvest them.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do something about that too.
We need a cage.
Yeah.
Like one of those.
Oh, she heard us talking.
Hi. I got a question to ask you. We're planting the garden. What's one thing that you want us to grow in the garden? You gotta say it loud.
Strawberries.
Strawberries? Why do you want to grow strawberries? Because they're your favorite? Mwah. How many strawberries you want us to grow? 5? You want 5 strawberry plants? Got milk or yogurt on you. Got yogurt on your face. Okay. Go play. We'll be done in a minute, okay? I love you. Mwah.
So the next thing we want to talk about is, that's what we're growing. And all of this can be used by our family, that it just makes sense. And I know that's like, you're like, well, duh, but you'd be shocked at how many people fail or grow something and then it gets thrown out because it's not something that they use. So simple things like that are important. They're simple and they're effective. The next thing we want to talk about is your growing space. So for us here on the farm, like she said, all of our soil is rock. And if there's any soil, it isn't great. It's clay. So what we done is we built on the side of our house, we built raised garden beds so that we could inevitably get some soil brought in. Your soil is very important when it comes to your gardening. So we contacted a local nursery who had what they call magic mix, and it's a 50-50 mix of riverbed sand and then mushroom compost. So they blend that together, they brought it in a truck, we loaded all of our beds with it, and then every year, and you'll see this year, we start to prep our garden beds, I will throw some new compost as well as topsoil in and just keep that good and rich and keep feeding it and doing all the good things, right? Okay, so determine where you're going to grow your stuff. And then that comes down to, now you know what you're going to grow and you know where you're going to grow it. So I use a method called square foot gardening. And you can do this, you can just literally just go onto Google and say square foot gardening chart, and it'll pull it up and it'll show you. So for instance, you'll see on our list, and I want to show this to you, every single thing that I have written down on this paper has a number beside of it. And what that tells me, that number tells me how many plants I can get in 1 square foot. So I know that my growing space is 3 foot by 6 foot. And then I will draw that out in a grid paper and show each square foot that's in that bed. That way I can see these are all of my square feet to grow my garden in. Then what I will do is I will search what is called a companion planting chart. Now, some things you can plant together and they work great. Some things, if you plant them together, they do not work great. In fact, one will kill the other. Now, when I say that, know that they're not having a war and fighting and someone wins. What happens is...
Only the strong survive.
Yes, only the strong survive. It's not that kind of case. What happens is, most of the time you'll see people shy away from putting things in the soil that require the same nutrients. And here's why. If I have more of a dominant plant and another plant and they both require the same thing, this one takes all of that nutrients from the ground and you'll find that this one doesn't do well, it will die. So that's when they say that these plants are not friends, or you'll see that in a lot of groups when you're doing your research, or to stay away from having these together. It's not because they hate each other. It's just because they require the same thing in order for life to happen. However, you will find that there are some plants that you can put together, and while this one grows, it puts off something into the soil that this one needs. So they strengthen each other when they're grown together, and those are called companion plants. So what I'll do is I'll take a list of my plants that are the fruit and vegetables that I want to grow, and then I start researching what are companion plants for those things. You will find that the companion plants typically are the other plants that you've made a list of. So that tells you what needs to go in each bed. So for instance, and I'll put this up here, you will see here is my list so far. With my lettuce, I can grow my beans and onions. With my tomatoes, I can grow basil and lemon balm. Cucumbers work well with cabbage. Potatoes work well with beans. Peppers work well with onions and tomatoes. Carrots work well with onions. So we'll kind of have those spread out all over the garden. And then I will take my chart with my number beside it and say, okay, so my first bed is going to have lettuce, beans, and onions in it. And then I'm going to decide I'm going to plant one row of lettuce. So I will take my lettuce, I can get 6 in a square foot. So then this is all going to be leaf lettuce. You can get 6 per square foot of leaf lettuce. If you were growing a head of lettuce, you would put 1 per square foot.
Gotcha. We don't have head of lettuce on there though, right?
No, we typically just cut it. And because good thing about lettuce is it'll just continue to grow back. And if you don't pull it from the root, you take your shears, cut it off, take the leaves in, and you can prep those for a salad or for a burger or whatever. If you leave that in the ground, they're just going to grow right back. And you've got the gift that keeps on giving until it dies out. So that is an example of a bed.
Yay! I grew a bed.
Yeah. So then what I would do is I would assign this a number 1. Then I'd draw my next one. We have 8 total. So I would draw 8 of these out and I would assign them a number 1 through 8. Then when I go outside and I actually look at my garden, I would assign the physical bed that number. And then I would know to pull this and use this when I go to plant in that said bed.
Yay! That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's organized and color coordinated.
Organized and color coordinated.
Yes.
Okay, and the last thing I will say is you can decide to plant any way you want to plant. A lot of people start seeds. If you're a seed starter, you have to get started a little bit earlier and it requires a little bit more work. And you also are going to have to probably start a lot of those indoors so they have the chance to be moved outdoors when it's time. Or you can go to your local greenhouse, let them start the seeds, do all of that, go and pick up your starter plant, and then put the actual plant in the ground. Totally up to you. Now, I'm not going to lie and say that I start everything from seed. I've direct sown seed. I have started seed indoors.
Tell the difference between direct sown.
So direct sown seed would be me walking out to my garden, taking these seeds here, these beans here, and going straight into the ground with these. Starting seeds indoors, the difference in that would be me taking these right now with the snow on the ground in the warmth of my house in a cup or in something, putting them in a windowsill, nurturing them to grow, getting them to a starter plant, and then taking that starter plant out to the garden and putting that garden in the ground.
Yeah. Okay. Good deal.
Yeah. Now, here's what I will say about that though. Plants can be fussy and you have to spend a lot of time weaning those plants from the inside of the house to the outside of the garden. So, wind and that kind of thing. And what they suggest is if you start them indoors, once it starts to warm up a little bit, take them outdoors for a couple of hours one day, then bring them back in. Then the next day, extend that. If it seems like they're starting to wilt or look funny, bring them back in, start over. You literally have to break them into the atmosphere outside. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. It's fun. Or you can be like, to heck with that. I'm going to get the starter plant at the greenhouse. We're going to come home, throw it in the ground. It's going to grow and give you fruit and you're good to go.
It reminds me of that meme that I think I'm allergic to tap water and I will grow under any condition.
It's the truth.
Those are our children.
It is the truth. Something else, a lot of plants are like plants that just keep on giving. Now, once you know your frost date area, all that stuff, and if you're going to do seeds tell you everything you need to know. If you direct sow these, you can look at the back of the seed packet. It will tell you when you can start planting these outdoors. It will tell you how long it takes to germinate, which means for that seed to actually take root and then start to grow in, the depth that you need to go into the ground with that seed, how far apart you need to place them, and then how many days it has to grow before you start to see a harvest. So all of that is on the back of your seed pack. However, I'm going to let you in on a little piece of advice. If you're a techie person like me, there's a company out there called Seed Time. I'll put the link at the end of this episode. It's called Seed Time. You can literally go in, create an account, put in your zone, and start putting in the crops that you're going to grow. When you put them all in there, it will give you a list of times to put them in the ground, times that you need to prep your soil, times that you need to harvest. And then you can also, it has the option to tell you when to plant more so that you can continue that throughout the year. So it takes all the guesswork out of it. You know, this way I have to count my days to know when harvest time is, all of the things. So if you use Seed Time, makes it a lot easier.
If there's an app for that, Josh is going to find it.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Yes. Listen, I went all high tech, or at least I think, and I ordered a self-watering system. I have rain barrels and I've got timers on them, and I installed a drip system myself into my water beds so that I can literally, from my phone, water my garden. I got it all. I figured it out. A lot of it I've had to rig myself, but
it's okay.
It's all right.
It's hillbilly ingenuity mixed with
Yes.
the 21st century.
Yeah.
I like it.
All right. So,
So cute.
and then when we talk about herbs, also, herbs are something that you can put in the ground. I have one bed that's dedicated to herbs.
Embarrassing.
And it is one of those things where you plant them, they grow this year. Right before springtime, I will go out to the garden and I will cut those down to the ground. Won't dig them up, I'll cut them down to the ground. And then all of those herbs will just come right back in that bed.
Tell me about mint.
Okay.
Mint?
Yes.
Okay.
Mint will kill your family.
It won't kill it, it'll just take it over.
Take everything over.
Yeah. So if you're going to grow mint, just grow it in a separate container. Don't put it with anything else.
Don't put mint in anything. It's a companion for some stuff, but what I did is I took an actual pot, put it down in the ground in my herb bed, and then planted my mint inside that pot, because that way the roots cannot get to the rest of the soil. It will take over and kill out everything. Other than that, I think we've done it.
Yeah, you've done it.
We have, hope you've learned
drank
something.
my cup.
I'm sorry, this was like a lot of information today. We didn't really do a whole lot, but we are going to get physical soon. Get in there and actually get in the garden. I'll show you what that looks like. But this is where it all starts. The groundwork starts with planting. Now I encourage you, plan your own garden.
Yeah.
And order your seeds or get ready for your starters. Whatever you're going to do, just get started. There's a place called Baker Creek online. All their seeds are heirloom, which means years and years of direct growing. There's no additives, no preservatives, all the things that, none of those growth hormones in their seeds. Baker Creek's a great place. That's where I've ordered 90% of mine. And then you can also just pick them up from the supermarket if that's what you want to do. I think we're done.
Yay.
All right, we'll see y'all next week.
Woohoo.
Bye.
Bye.
Next time on Addairs Farmhouse.
Okay, are you ready? This is a we listen and we don't judge moment, okay? So, have you ever decided that you needed a new look in your living room or just your whole house? So you sold all of your decor 2 years ago and never bought anything back? No? That's just us. Okay, well, we did that. So there's nothing in here. Literally nothing. Absolutely nothing. Don't get it twisted. This is not a remodel. We're gonna dress our living room. Because we like a challenge, we have set some parameters. The rules are, 1, we have a budget. It's $100. We are not painting walls. This has got to be able to be done in a day. If you purchase it to go in this room, it has to be something that's gonna stay here. That is the plan. Come with us.